On a dying world where the skies burned red and the ground was cracked with ancient scars, an enormous dragon named Valkyrith lay upon the ruins of his once mighty home. His scales, once bright as molten gold, had turned dull and gray with age. His wings, torn and broken, dragged against the dust. Time had defeated even this great creature. His breaths came slow and heavy, each one sounding like the groan of an old mountain. Around him stood a group of alien scholars from the Galactic Archive, their faces pale under the strange light. They had come from far worlds to record the last moments of the oldest living being in the known galaxy. Valkyrith's eyes flickered like dying embers. The scholars whispered among themselves, trying to understand the creature's last movements. One of them, a tall being with silver skin, leaned forward with his recorder and asked, "Great One, do you have any final message before you pass into the void?" The dragon's head lifted weakly. His massive eyes glowed faintly as if searching across space and time. Then his deep voice rumbled through the air, soft but full of power. "Find the human who knows my name," he said. The words echoed across the valley, rolling like thunder over the silent plains. The scholars looked at one another, confused and afraid. Humans were not known for ancient wisdom or power. They were a young species only recently accepted into the galactic community. How could a dragon of myth and age know or care about a human? Commander Elena Cross, the leader of the research mission, watched from her command station on the ridge. Her dark uniform reflected the red light of the dying sun. She had seen many strange things in her career, but nothing like this. She ordered her translator drone to replay the dragon's final words. It confirmed the phrase exactly, "Find the human who knows my name." Elena frowned. There were billions of humans scattered across colonies and ships. Finding one particular person was nearly impossible. Still, she felt something stir in her chest. This was not just a myth or random message. There was purpose behind those words. As the dragon's breathing slowed, his massive form began to crumble into dust. His body shimmered and broke apart like glass touched by light. The wind carried his ashes across the sky, glowing faintly as they spread through the red horizon. One of the scholars fell to his knees in awe. "He is gone," he whispered. Elena watched silently, her mind already racing. She sent a message to the Galactic Archive Command. "Record his last words and begin a cross-species search for any human connected to this phrase." Her voice was calm, but her thoughts were not. She had studied the legends of dragons for years, and every story spoke of their power to bind their names to the souls of those they trusted. If what the dragon said was true, there was a human somewhere in the galaxy tied to a being older than history itself. Light years away, on a small blue planet called Earth, a man named Ethan Cole pushed a mop across the polished floor of the North American Space Academy. He was quiet and polite, always working late when most people had gone home. No one noticed him much. He cleaned halls, fixed broken lights, and kept to himself. His life was simple and quiet, but sometimes strange dreams woke him in the night. He would see a sky full of fire, mountains of glass, and a voice calling his name in a deep rumble. Every time he woke up sweating, his heart pounding. He always told himself it was nothing, just his imagination. That same night, as Ethan mopped the corridor near the Academy's observatory, he paused and looked up through the glass ceiling. The stars glimmered faintly in the black sky. One of them, far away, seemed to pulse brighter for a moment, then fade. He stared at it, feeling something deep inside, a tug, like a memory he couldn't reach. He shook his head and went back to work, not knowing that across the stars, the dragon's ashes were still glowing and his name was already being spoken among worlds. Back on the dragon's planet, Commander Elena Cross stood before the crumbling monument that had once marked the resting place of Valkyrith. The storm winds howled around her, carrying the faint scent of burning stone. She whispered softly, as if to the wind itself, "Who are you, human?" She turned toward her ship, knowing this message would shake the galaxy. Somewhere, a human who knew the dragon's true name was out there. She didn't yet know that his name was Ethan Cole, and that he was not ready for what was coming. Commander Elena Cross sat in the dim command chamber of her ship, the Aurora, staring at the holographic replay of the dragon's final words. The room was silent except for the low hum of the engines. The image of Valkyrith shimmered before her, his fading voice repeating, "Find the human who knows my name." Every time she heard it, a strange chill ran down her spine. Around her, her crew waited for orders. Lieutenant Liam Porter, her communications officer, finally spoke. "Commander, our scans confirm a psychic residue in the dragon's remains. It matches no known species except humans." The room filled with quiet surprise. Elena leaned forward, her sharp eyes fixed on the hologram. "Run a full search. I want every human database cross-checked with this resonance pattern. If there is a human who fits, we find them." She stood and looked out the wide viewport where the stars stretched endlessly. Deep down, she knew this was not just a dying creature's whim. Dragons were said to guard knowledge older than galaxies. If a human truly knew one's name, it could mean the oldest legends were real. On Earth, Ethan Cole's life continued quietly. He arrived early every morning at the North American Space Academy, carrying his mop and cleaning supplies. He greeted the security guard with a small nod and started his routine. He liked the quiet hours when the corridors were empty. Sometimes he would stop by the training hall, watching cadets practice with small hover drones, their laughter echoing through the hall. He always smiled a little, remembering his younger days when he once dreamed of joining the fleet. Life had taken him elsewhere, but he didn't complain. He liked simple things. But lately, something strange had started happening. Sometimes when he touched the academy's glass walls, static crackled around his fingers. Lights flickered for a second before returning to normal. And in the corner of his mind he felt whispers, like voices just out of reach. He tried to ignore them, telling himself it was stress. That night, he went home to his small apartment on the edge of the city. As he sat down with a cup of coffee, the whispers grew louder. A deep voice, ancient and calm, said his name, "Ethan." He froze, his heart racing. Sounded real. Far away, on the Aurora, Liam's fingers moved across the console. "Commander, we've found something. There's a human whose neural pattern matches the dragon's residue. He's on Earth." Elena turned sharply. "Send me his profile." The hologram shifted to show Ethan Cole's face. A man in his late 30s, ordinary-looking, wearing a maintenance uniform. Elena frowned. "A janitor?" Liam nodded. "Yes, Commander. He works at a space academy. No military background, no special records. Just normal." Elena crossed her arms. "No one is truly ordinary if a dragon speaks their name. Prepare the ship for departure. We're going to Earth." As the Aurora entered hyperspace, Elena walked through the halls, thinking about the stories she had heard as a child, about dragons who had once ruled the stars before fading into legend. They were beings of knowledge and power, protectors of truth. If Valkyrith had spoken of a human, it meant something important. Perhaps the human carried part of that truth without knowing it. Back on Earth, Ethan tried to sleep but couldn't. The voice wouldn't stop. It spoke in fragments, words in a language he didn't understand but somehow felt familiar. When he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of gold light and enormous wings spread across the sky. He saw a burning world, and in the center, a dragon looking straight at him. He woke up gasping, his sheets damp with sweat. The next morning, when he arrived at work, everything seemed too quiet. People whispered about strange lights in the sky the night before. Ethan didn't pay much attention, but he felt uneasy. Later that day, a sleek silver ship entered Earth's orbit. Governments across the planet received coded transmissions from the Galactic Archive fleet requesting permission to land. The United Earth Command granted it quickly, though with hesitation. No one expected the reason they were here would involve a simple human janitor. Commander Elena Cross stepped onto Earth for the first time, the cool air brushing against her face. She was greeted by Major Daniel Carter from Earth Command, a stern officer who eyed her curiously. "You traveled all the way from the archive for a janitor?" he asked. Elena's tone stayed calm. "For a human connected to a dragon's dying wish." Carter frowned. unsure if she was serious. When she showed him the energy scans linking Ethan to Valkyrith, his expression changed. "I'll take you to him." As evening fell, Ethan was sweeping the corridor near the academy's main gate when a group of uniformed officers approached. He looked up, confused, as Commander Cross stepped forward. "Mr. Cole?" she asked softly. "Yes," he replied, still holding his broom. "We need to talk," she said. "It's about a dragon." Everything went silent. Ethan stared at her, his grip tightening on the broom handle. Something inside him stirred. A memory, a sound, a feeling he couldn't explain. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change forever. The meeting room inside the North American Space Academy was quiet when Ethan Cole sat across from Commander Elena Cross. The air felt heavy, and the soft hum of the ceiling lights only made the silence deeper. Ethan's hands rested on the table, still rough from years of work. He looked from Elena to Major Daniel Carter, both watching him carefully. "I don't understand," Ethan said. "You think I know a dragon?" Elena's eyes softened. "We don't think, Mr. Cole. We know. A dying dragon, an ancient being called Valkyrith, spoke your kind's name as his last words. He said, 'Find the human who knows my name.'" She pressed a small device, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a massive dragon with cracked scales, breathing smoke. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The image looked exactly like the creature from his dreams. "That's him," Ethan whispered, his eyes wide. "I've seen him before." Carter leaned forward sharply. "Where?" Ethan hesitated. "In my sleep. In my mind. I don't know how or why, but I keep hearing his voice. I thought I was going crazy." Elena and Carter exchanged a glance. Elena spoke gently. "You're not crazy. Somehow, your mind is linked to this creature. We need to understand how." Outside, the aurora hovered above the atmosphere, hidden by cloaking fields. Its sensors scanned the planet, tracking every shift in energy. Inside the ship, Lieutenant Liam Porter monitored the readings, his brow furrowed. "Commander, the human's neural activity is unusual. His brain waves match patterns found in ancient dragon ruins." Elena nodded slowly. "Keep the ship ready. If things turn dangerous, we leave immediately." Meanwhile, Ethan agreed to undergo a few simple tests. They led him to a room filled with machines, glowing softly in the dim light. Dr. Lucas Reed, the Aurora's science officer, greeted him with a friendly smile. "Just relax, Mr. Cole. We're going to run a neural scan to see if there's anything unusual in your brain activity." Ethan nodded nervously as he lay back on the chair. Electrodes were placed against his temples. As the machine hummed, the air in the room seemed to shift. The lights flickered. Lucas glanced at the monitor and froze. "Commander," he whispered into his comm, "you need to see this." On the screen, shapes began to form, symbols glowing faintly across Ethan's neural pattern. It wasn't just electrical signals. It was language, an ancient one. Elena entered the room and stared at the display. "That's Draconic script," she said softly. "It's impossible." Ethan's eyes fluttered open. He spoke in a deep tone not his own, words that no one could translate. The room vibrated with energy, and the monitors began to overload. Elena quickly ordered the power to be cut. When the lights returned, Ethan sat up, shaking. "What just happened?" he asked, his voice trembling. Elena looked at him seriously. "You spoke in the language of dragons." Everything changed after that. News spread through the secret channels of the Galactic Council. Word reached alien worlds that a human had spoken the lost language of dragons. Some believed it was a miracle. Others saw it as a threat. On the Aurora, Elena tried to keep Ethan's condition quiet, but information had already leaked. Messages came from the Galactic Archive headquarters demanding his immediate transfer for study. Elena refused. She had seen the fear in Ethan's eyes. He wasn't a weapon or a project. He was a person caught in something far bigger than himself. That night, Ethan sat alone in his quarters aboard the Aurora. The stars outside the viewport shimmered like silver dust. He could still feel the dragon's voice echoing inside his head. "Who are you?" Ethan whispered. A warmth spread through his chest. And then, faintly, the voice answered. "You are the one who remembers." Ethan stood, breathing hard. "Remembers what?" But there was no reply. Only silence and the hum of the ship. On the bridge, Elena and Liam discussed their next move. "The council will send ships soon," Liam said. "They'll want him under control." Elena nodded. "Then we move first. If the dragon trusted him, maybe there's a reason. Maybe humanity's past is tied to theirs." She turned toward the star map. "Set course for Valkyrtha's homeworld. If there are answers, we'll find them there." As the aurora rose into the void, Ethan watched the earth fade behind him. For the first time in his life, he felt both fear and purpose. He didn't know where this path would lead, but deep inside, he sensed something awakening. A memory older than his own life, waiting to be revealed. Somewhere across the stars, the ashes of Valkyrth shimmered faintly, as if calling him home. The aurora glided silently through hyperspace, its hull shimmering with the glow of shifting starlight. Commander Elena Cross stood on the bridge, her arms folded as she stared at the display showing their destination. The coordinates pointed to a ruined world once known as Valkyrtha's home, a place believed to be long dead. No life signals, no atmosphere stable enough for habitation. Yet somehow, she felt they were being pulled there by something beyond science. Behind her, Lieutenant Liam Porter worked quietly at the console. "Hyperspace exit in 5 minutes," he said. Elena nodded but kept her eyes forward. She could sense tension among the crew. Everyone had heard the whispers about the human who spoke the language of dragons. Some believed Ethan was chosen. Others feared he was cursed. In the observation deck, Ethan Cole sat by the large window, staring into the endless swirl of hyperspace. His reflection looked different now. Tired but sharper, like a man carrying a weight he couldn't name. He remembered the last words the dragon's voice had spoken in his mind. "You are the one who remembers." But remembers what? Each time he tried to think about it, flashes filled his vision, mountains of fire, cities made of crystal, and giant wings stretching across the stars. He was startled when Elena approached and sat beside him. "Can't sleep?" she asked. He shook his head. "I keep seeing things. Places I've never been, faces I don't know." Elena studied him quietly. "Maybe they're memories. Not yours, but his." Ethan looked at her. "The dragons?" she nodded. "If your mind is connected to Valkyrth, you might be carrying pieces of his consciousness. Echoes of his life." Ethan frowned. "Why me? I'm no one." Elena smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why. Legends say dragons trusted those with humble hearts. Maybe he chose you because you'd listen." Suddenly, the ship jolted. Alarms rang out. "Commander!" Liam's voice came over the intercom. "We've got a gravity spike. Something's pulling us out of hyperspace early." Elena and Ethan rushed to the bridge. The starfield snapped into view as the ship exited hyperspace, and before them lay a world of ruins. Blackened mountains pierced the clouds, rivers of ash cut across the land, and in the distance stood enormous stone structures shaped like wings. "That's it," Elena whispered. "The dragon's world." But before they could take readings, the sensors lit up with strange energy signatures. "Commander," Liam said, "I'm detecting something under the surface. Massive energy readings, ancient tech." Elena ordered a landing near the largest structure. As the aurora descended, dust storms whipped across the landscape, hiding the horizon. The ground was cracked and scorched, like the remains of a world burned long ago. Once they landed, the crew stepped out in environment suits. Ethan followed close behind Elena, his boots crunching against the black soil. The air shimmered faintly with static. "Keep close," Elena warned. "This planet's energy field is unstable." They approached a massive temple built into the side of a cliff. Its doors, half buried in ash, opened as Ethan came near. The crew stopped, startled. "It's reacting to him," Liam said softly. The doors groaned open, revealing a wide chamber lit by glowing crystals. Inside, the walls were covered in carvings. dragons flying beside humans, their hands joined in peace. Ethan reached out and touched the symbols. Suddenly, his mind flooded with visions. He saw humans and dragons working together, sharing knowledge, building starships powered by flame. He gasped and stumbled back. Elena caught him. "What did you see?" she asked. Ethan's voice shook. "We were with them, humans and dragons. We knew their names. We fought beside them." From the shadows, a deep rumble filled the room. The crystals brightened, and a massive holographic image of Valkyrith appeared before them, his form shimmering with golden light. Ethan fell to his knees, his eyes wide. "You came," the dragon's voice echoed, calm and powerful. Elena and the crew froze. It wasn't a recording. It was an imprint, a fragment of the dragon's mind preserved in the ruins. "Why me?" Ethan asked softly. Valkyrith's gaze turned to him. "Because you are the last to remember who we were. Your kind once walked among us. You knew our names, and we shared our flame with you. But time and fear buried the truth. Now the galaxy has forgotten. You must awaken what sleeps within humanity." Ethan felt tears sting his eyes. "I'm just one man," he said. "How can I do that?" The dragon's voice grew softer. "The flame does not need many. It needs one who remembers." As the vision faded, the temple began to shake. Energy surged through the ground. "Commander, the planet's core is unstable," Liam shouted. Elena grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to go now." They raced toward the ship as the ground cracked behind them, waves of light shooting into the sky. The aurora lifted off just as the temple collapsed into the earth. Back in orbit, Ethan stared down at the dying world. The voice of the dragon echoed faintly one last time. "The truth is in your blood. The flame will rise again." Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "What did he mean?" she asked. Ethan didn't answer. He just stared at the world below, knowing deep down that whatever slept inside him was only beginning to awaken. The aurora drifted silently through deep space after escaping the crumbling dragon world. The crew was shaken, but none more than Ethan Cole. He sat alone in his small cabin, staring at his reflection in the dark glass of the viewport. His eyes looked different now, deeper, brighter, almost like faint embers glowed behind them. He could still hear Valkyrith's voice in his mind, repeating the same words over and over. "The truth is in your blood." What did that mean? He was just a man, a janitor, someone who fixed lights and cleaned floors. But now, something inside him was stirring, something that didn't feel entirely human. Commander Elena Cross stood in the control room with Lieutenant Liam Porter and Dr. Lucas Reed. "The energy readings from Ethan's body are off the charts," Lucas said. "His blood is carrying some kind of bioluminescent compound we've never seen before. It's almost like it's alive." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying the dragon's essence is inside him?" Lucas nodded slowly. "Not exactly. More like a memory encoded in his DNA, as if a part of Valkyrith was waiting to awaken through him." Elena turned to the window, watching the streaks of starlight pass. "Then we need to find out why." Hours later, Ethan was called to the medical bay. As he entered, the lights dimmed automatically, and scanners began humming around him. Lucas stood by the controls. "I just need a small sample," he said, holding a sterile device. Ethan nodded and rolled up his sleeve. When the needle touched his skin, the blood that filled the vial shimmered faintly with a golden tint. Lucas and Elena exchanged glances. "It's true," Lucas whispered. "His blood contains dragon energy signatures." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean for me?" Elena answered softly. "It means Valkyrith didn't just choose you. He made you a part of something ancient." As the aurora continued its journey, strange things began to happen. The ship's systems occasionally flickered, reacting to Ethan's presence. When he walked by the control panels, they lit up as if recognizing him. Once, when he touched the navigation console, a hidden map appeared, a network of forgotten worlds connected by lines of golden light. Elena and her team studied it, realizing it was a star map from the Age of Dragons. "These are the lost colonies," Liam said. Planets wiped from galactic records. Elena traced one glowing point with her finger. This one's still active. Ethan felt a pulse in his chest. We need to go there, he said quietly. I don't know how I know, but that's where Valkyrith wants me to go. Meanwhile, far from them, news of the human who carried the dragon's essence spread through the galaxy. The Galactic Council debated in secret meetings. Many feared what this meant. If humans held ancient power, it could disrupt the fragile balance of control. Fleets began mobilizing quietly. Elena knew they would come for Ethan soon. We can't go through official channels anymore, she told her crew. If the council thinks he's dangerous, they'll destroy him. We move off-grid. The Aurora changed course toward the coordinates glowing on the star map. As they neared the system, space itself began to shimmer. Fragments of light floated around the ship like golden dust. Ethan stood at the observation window, feeling a strange pull in his heart. This place feels alive, he whispered. When the Aurora exited warp, the crew gasped. Before them floated a massive structure, half asteroid, half living organism, glowing with faint energy. It's a dragon archive, Lucas said in awe. A living memory vault. Elena ordered a landing. Prepare the shuttle. We're going down. The surface of the archive pulsed beneath their feet like warm stone. As they entered through a tunnel lined with glowing veins of light, symbols began to appear on the walls. Ethan could read them somehow, even though he had never seen them before. It says, Keepers of the Flame, he murmured. Elena looked at him, amazed. You can read this? Ethan nodded. It's like I've always known it. Deeper inside, they found a massive chamber with a circular pedestal at its center. On it rested a small crystal sphere glowing faintly with golden fire. Ethan stepped forward. As his hand hovered above it, the sphere rose and began to spin. Suddenly, the chamber filled with visions. Dragons soared across the sky beside human ships. Together they built cities and shared knowledge. But then came darkness, war, betrayal, and fear. Dragons were hunted and erased from history. Humanity, in its terror, sealed away its memory of them. Valkyrith's voice echoed through the chamber. They feared what they could not understand, so they buried the truth in blood and stone. But you, Ethan Cole, are the bridge between what was and what must return. The light dimmed, and Ethan dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Elena rushed to him. What did you see? He looked up, his eyes glowing faintly gold. The dragons trusted us once, he said, and we betrayed them. Now they're giving us a chance to make it right. When they returned to the ship, Elena knew the truth. This was bigger than all of them. Ethan wasn't just connected to Valkyrith. He carried the key to awakening something long forgotten. But the question now was who else knew, and how far they would go to stop it. The Aurora drifted silently toward the far edges of the known galaxy. Its engines hummed softly, and its crew worked in uneasy quiet. Ethan Cole sat in the command chair, not as a janitor anymore but as someone the crew now looked to for guidance. Commander Elena Cross stood beside him, arms folded, her eyes watching the stars ahead. They both knew they were being hunted. The Galactic Council had declared the Aurora rogue and ordered all fleets to capture or destroy it. Every transmission was filled with warnings. Humans were not to be trusted with dragon power. But Ethan knew this was more than politics. Someone in the council wanted the dragon's secrets buried forever. As they drifted near the edge of an uncharted system, the sensors picked up strange readings. There's something here, Lieutenant Liam Porter said. A structure, buried beneath the planet's crust. Elena nodded. Bring us into orbit. Ethan leaned forward. It feels familiar, he whispered. Like I've been here before. Dr. Lucas Reed studied the data. The planet's core is emitting the same energy signature as your blood. Ethan, this might be another dragon site. Elena looked at him. We need to go down there. Ethan hesitated. If this is connected to Valkyrith, there might be more than memories waiting. Elena gave a small smile. Then we'll face it together. The shuttle descended through thick clouds of red dust, landing in a valley surrounded by jagged black mountains. The air shimmered faintly with golden particles. As they stepped out, Ethan felt a pulse under his boots, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. "It's alive," he murmured. They followed the readings to a fissure in the rock. The walls glowed with runes that brightened when Ethan approached. Deep inside, they found a massive chamber, a circular hall lined with crystalline pillars. At its center floated a dragon-shaped statue made of pure energy, wings spread wide, eyes burning faintly with gold. Lucas scanned it, awe in his voice. "This isn't a statue. It's a stasis projection, an imprint of a real dragon." Elena took a cautious step forward. "Can it hear us?" Ethan closed his eyes. "It already does." His voice echoed strangely, layered with another tone, deep, ancient, and filled with power. The dragon's eyes flared, and a low rumble filled the chamber. "You carry his flame," the dragon said through him. "Why have you come?" Ethan spoke without thinking. "Valkyrith sent me. He said the truth is in my blood." The dragon's gaze softened. "Then the flame has awakened again. The time of silence ends." Suddenly, the ground trembled. Alarms blared through their comms. Liam's voice came through from the Aurora. "Commander! Incoming ships, Council fleet, 2 destroyers and a carrier." Elena cursed. "They found us." Ethan turned to the glowing dragon form. "Can you help us?" The dragon's voice rumbled. "Only if the flame accepts its duty." The statue dissolved into streams of light that wrapped around Ethan, sinking into his body. His veins glowed gold as energy surged through him. He gasped but did not fall. Elena watched in stunned silence as his eyes turned fully golden. "Ethan?" He opened them slowly. "I can feel them. The dragons. They're waiting." They raced back to the shuttle as explosions lit the sky above. When they reached orbit, the Aurora was already under attack. Enemy ships fired beams of energy that shook the hull. "We can't take much more of this," Liam shouted. Elena gave orders sharply. "Raise shields, return fire, and prepare for evasive maneuvers." Ethan grabbed the navigation console. His fingers glowed as he touched it. Suddenly, the ship responded faster than ever before, moving as though alive. The dragon energy inside him merged with the Aurora's systems, and the whole ship seemed to awaken. "She's alive," Lucas whispered. The Aurora's linked with him. With impossible speed, the Aurora darted through the battlefield. Beams that should have hit instead curved away, deflected by waves of golden light. Ethan could feel the ship's pulse in his chest. "They can't touch us," he said quietly. Elena smiled faintly. "Then let's show them what humans can do." The Aurora returned fire, unleashing arcs of energy that tore through the enemy formation. One destroyer exploded, scattering debris across the stars. The others retreated in panic. "They're pulling back," Liam shouted. But Elena shook her head. "No, this is just the beginning. They'll send more." As the ship steadied, Ethan leaned back in his chair, breathing heavily. His hands trembled as the glow faded from his skin. Elena touched his shoulder. "You saved us." He shook his head. "It wasn't me. It was them." Lucas looked at him with concern. "How long can you control that power?" Ethan met his eyes. "I don't think I'm controlling it at all." Later, as the crew repaired the damage, Elena stood beside Ethan at the observation deck. "The dragons trusted us once," she said softly. "Now their power is inside you. What happens next?" Ethan stared at the stars. "Valkyrith wanted me to find the truth. I think it's more than just memory. It's a call. The dragons want to return." Elena frowned. "And the council will do anything to stop that." Ethan turned to her, his voice calm but steady. "Then we'll have to show them what it means to be human." Outside, the stars burned brighter, and somewhere in the darkness, ancient forces began to stir once more. The Aurora floated beyond the rim of the known galaxy, far from any beacon or patrol route. Its hull carried the scars of the last battle, but its heart, the fusion core now bound to Ethan Cole's dragon-linked energy, pulsed steadily with life. The crew worked in quiet determination. They all knew they were fugitives now, hunted by the Galactic Council. Commander Elena Cross stood at the main console, reviewing intercepted transmissions. "They've set a bounty," she said softly. "Any ship that brings us in gets full amnesty and rewards." Ethan looked up from the navigation display. "They're desperate. They're afraid of what we've found." Dr. Lucas Reed nodded. "Afraid and curious. They'll want to capture you alive, Ethan." "That's worse." Ethan stared at his reflection in the console. The golden glow in his eyes hadn't faded. Each time he touched the ship's systems, he could feel something more: whispers, faint but growing stronger. The dragons were speaking, not with words, but with feelings and images. They showed him glimpses of worlds covered in crystal forests, skies filled with creatures of light. Then, flashes of fire, destruction, and betrayal. He felt their sorrow, their anger, and their hope. He whispered under his breath, "They're still out there." Elena turned to him. "Who?" Ethan met her eyes. "The dragons. Not all of them died." Before Elena could respond, an alarm blared. Liam Porter, at the sensor station, called out, "Contact, 3 ships, fast approach vector." The holographic display lit up with crimson markers. Elena barked orders. "Shields up, evasive pattern delta." The Aurora banked sharply, engines roaring. But something was different this time. The pursuing ships were not council vessels. They were smaller, older models, scavenger crafts with irregular energy signatures. "Mercenaries," Lucas said grimly. "Bounty hunters." The comm crackled, and a harsh voice came through. "Aurora, power down and surrender the human. No one else has to die." Elena muted the channel. "They won't stop," she said. Ethan stood. "Then we make them." He walked to the bridge window and placed his hand on the glass. Golden light rippled from his palm through the ship's surface. Suddenly, the Aurora's systems synchronized with his heartbeat. The hull shimmered, the lights dimmed, and then a new sound filled the air. A deep hum, like the breath of something enormous waking up. The attackers opened fire, but the energy bolts curved away, deflected by a golden shield that flared into existence. "What the hell?" Liam gasped. Lucas stared at the readings. "This isn't technology. It's a living barrier." "Ethan, can you control it?" Elena asked. "No," he said quietly. "It's controlling itself." The Aurora responded as though aware of the threat. It turned, engines blazing, and unleashed a beam of pure energy. One mercenary ship disintegrated instantly. The others broke formation, scrambling to flee. But the Aurora didn't chase them. Instead, it slowed, its glow dimming again. Ethan fell to one knee, panting. Elena knelt beside him. "You all right?" He nodded weakly. "They're trying to protect me. The dragons. They're using the ship as their voice." Lucas exchanged a worried glance with Elena. "If that's true, then the Aurora's becoming something else, something alive." Later, as comm returned, Ethan sat in the observation lounge. Outside, a faint nebula glowed gold, shaped like wings. He could almost feel it watching him. Elena joined him quietly. "You said not all dragons died. What did you mean?" Ethan took a slow breath. "I saw them, sleeping, hidden in deep space, sealed inside worlds of light. They're waiting to be awakened." Elena frowned. "And Valkyritha's message, the human who knows his name, it's you, maybe the key to waking them." Ethan nodded. "And that's why the council wants me gone." He turned to her, his voice low. "They're afraid of what happens when humans remember what we were to the dragons." Lucas entered with new data. "I analyzed the Aurora's core. It's fusing human and dragon energy at an increasing rate. If it continues, this ship might evolve into something we can't control." Elena looked between them. "Can we stop it?" Lucas shook his head. "Not without killing Ethan." The room fell silent. Ethan rose slowly. "Then we don't stop it. We guide it." He looked out at the nebula. "The dragons didn't give me this to hide. They gave it to me to finish what they started." Hours later, as the Aurora sailed through the quiet void, Ethan dreamed. He found himself standing on a field of molten glass beneath a burning sky. Before him stood Valkyrith, vast and terrible, yet calm. "You have carried my flame well," the dragon said. "But the true trial comes soon." Ethan asked, "What trial?" Valkyrith's golden eyes shimmered. "The flame cannot coexist with fear. You must decide, remain human or become what the stars need." Ethan hesitated. "And if I choose wrong?" Valkyrith spread his wings, the wind of his breath shaking the ground. "Then both dragon and human will vanish forever." Ethan awoke with a start. The ship was quiet, the stars unmoving. Elena's voice came softly through the intercom. "Ethan, we just entered the coordinates you found. There's something ahead." He stood and looked out the viewport. Far in the distance, a vast golden sphere pulsed gently, surrounded by floating ruins. The light was warm, alive. He whispered, "That's where it began." Elena's voice answered, steady but full of awe. "Then that's where we go." The Aurora changed course, its engines igniting like the breath of a sleeping dragon finally stirring from its long dream. And in the silence between stars, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The Aurora approached the golden sphere that pulsed like a living heart in the darkness. The crew stood silent on the bridge, watching as light rippled across the void. Ethan Cole felt every pulse resonate inside him, as if the sphere was calling directly to his blood. Commander Elena Cross gave a quiet order. "Bring us in slow." The ship glided forward, engines humming softly. No weapons, no shields, just the faint golden glow wrapping the hull. "What is this place?" Liam whispered. Ethan's voice came low. "The cradle, where dragons were born." They descended through clouds of golden mist and entered the sphere's inner atmosphere. Vast structures floated in the light, mountains of crystal, rivers of molten gold, and towers that shimmered like fire frozen in time. Everything was silent yet alive. Lucas scanned the area. "Energy levels are off any scale I've seen. This place is generating power from the void itself." Elena looked at Ethan. "This is what Valkyrith wanted you to find." Ethan nodded slowly. "The last sanctuary." They landed near what looked like a temple carved into a mountain of glass. As they stepped out, the ground vibrated softly under their boots. The air was warm, filled with faint music like distant singing. Inside the temple, they found an enormous chamber surrounded by statues. Dragons of every shape and size, carved from pure light. At the center floated a single golden flame, small but steady. Ethan approached it slowly. The flame pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. "This is the heart," he whispered, "the memory of their kind." Suddenly, the flame flared, and a voice filled the chamber. It was Valkyrith's, deeper now, like thunder rolling through eternity. "You have come, human of my name. You carry the bond between what was and what can be." Ethan fell to his knees as visions burst into his mind. Dragons and humans working together, creating wonders, then the betrayal, the wars, the silence. Valkyrith's voice softened. "The flame dies because both sides forgot. If it fades now, all memory ends. Will you bear the fire, even if it changes you forever?" Ethan looked up at the golden flame. Elena stepped forward. "You don't have to do this alone," she said firmly. Ethan met her eyes and smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I think this was always meant for me." He reached out his hand. The flame rose from the pedestal and touched his palm. Light exploded outward, flooding the chamber. The walls trembled, and the statues began to glow, their eyes flickering to life. The dragons were awakening. On the surface, the Aurora shuddered as waves of golden energy surged through space. The Galactic Council fleet that had been tracking them emerged from warp and opened fire, but their weapons simply vanished into the light. The golden sphere pulsed once, and the enemy ships froze mid-space, their systems dead, their crews staring in awe. "Commander, it's affecting everything," Liam shouted. "Even our systems." Elena gripped the console. "Hold steady." Inside the temple, Ethan stood surrounded by fire. His body was burning, but not in pain. He felt every heartbeat of the universe, every memory of dragons that had ever lived. Valkyrtha's voice echoed one last time. You are no longer just human. You are flameborn. When the light finally dimmed, Ethan was standing at the center of the chamber. His form changed. Faint scales shimmered beneath his skin. His eyes were molten gold, and his voice carried the echo of dragons. Elena and Lucas ran to him, shielding their eyes from the fading light. Ethan, Elena called. He turned to her and smiled gently. I remember everything. Outside, the sphere began to crack apart, releasing millions of streams of light, each one a dragon awakening from stasis. They rose into the sky like golden comets, spreading across the galaxy. The fleets that had come to destroy were now witnesses to rebirth. One by one, the dragons roared, a sound so vast it shook the stars. And then, through the Aurora's speakers, a signal echoed. A message from Ethan, calm and powerful. To all who hear this, the Age of Dragons has returned. Humanity was never their enemy. We were their promise. The Galactic Council fell into silence. Across the stars, humans watched as their legends came alive. Elena stood on the Aurora's bridge, tears glimmering in her eyes as she looked at the light filling the skies. Lucas whispered, We changed history. She nodded. No, she said softly. We remembered it. The Aurora rose from the golden sphere, now fading behind them. Ethan stood at the viewport, the fire in his veins glowing faintly. Where to now? Elena asked. Ethan smiled, his eyes reflecting starlight. There's still more to awaken. She gave a quiet laugh. Then let's go light up the galaxy. The ship turned toward the endless stars, its engines igniting in brilliant gold. Behind them, the dragons flew free once more, their roars echoing through space. A song of rebirth, unity, and hope. And in that moment, humanity and dragonkind were one again, bound not by fear, but by fire.